Section 2. Eschatology in the Old Testament. Class 7. In this class, we will be looking into the following Old Testament scripture. Daniel 8 verses 1 to 27. This vision did not include the Babylonian kingdom, as the last days of the kingdom were in the hands of Belshazzar. The ram with 2 horns is the Medo-Persian kingdom, with Persia stronger than Media. The rough goat is Greece, with Alexander as the great horn. Alexander the Great died early and his kingdom split into 4. After them rose Julius Caesar and later Emperor Augustus Caesar, who brought pomp and prosperity to the kingdom. This 4th spirit indwelt humans that killed many stars, believers alike stars. See Daniel 12 verse 3. 1 Corinthians 15 verses 40 to 41. It magnified itself against God. The key to understanding verse 14 is first in verse 13 and next in verses 8 to 12. We will attempt to break this down for ease before proceeding with the studies. Let us see them in the below points. 1. Verse 14 tells us that the time frame of this period ends with the setting up of the temple again. If it were with the hosts, then the end mark would have been 1948, when the Jews regained complete control of their army as a nation for the first time in centuries. 2. Verse 13 tells us that there are 2 markers for the start of the time frame: their change in the daily sacrifice and loss of control of both the sanctuary and the army. 3. Verses 8 to 12 first tells us that this leader is to come just after the Third Empire, that is, after the reign of the Greek Empire. They then tell us that this leadership, important to note at this point that leadership in government according to prophecy is continuous and not person-specific except otherwise stated. Therefore, we see one Babylon but different people ruling in many prophecies, is to start small and progress until leadership gets into Jerusalem. When the system becomes great, it will be able to defy the armies of Israel, tamper with the daily sacrifice and make practices that will work against the acceptable way of sacrifice. This was in the reign of the Hellenistic Empire, climaxing at Antiochus IV Epiphanes as seen in the next paragraph. This shows us that the time starts counting in the Hellenistic reign and ends where the days give an end. Important to note that the days are mentioned with respect to the daily sacrifice because for the prophecy to be fulfilled, the daily sacrifice must be restored as it was in the past. The temple and the people were under the control of Antiochus II from the 3rd century BCE. We see that in about 240 BCE the high priest protested taxing his people on behalf of the emperor. This year marked a loss of their freedom, where a sect of them were already practicing Hellenism. Around 167 BCE, when Antiochus IV Epiphanes erected a statue of Zeus in the temple, see Wikipedia on temple in Jerusalem, and caused the daily sacrifices to cease. He also instituted other practices in the temple. Hellenism, from about 240 BCE to 2034, is about 2,268 years. According to Daniel 8 verse 14, recall that one prophetic year is 360 days, not 365 days. So 2,300 years will be approximately 2,268.5 years. This means that we will enter the period when the temple will be made whole again starting from the year 2030 AD. From 167 BCE downwards, we see 1. Pompey enter the Holy of Holies in 63 BCE. 2. Crassus loot the temple in 54 BCE. General Titus of Roman army destroy the temple in 70 AD.